What's going on, YouTube? Garfight King here. So it's been a minute since we went ahead and did a deck profile. My brother was able to, kind of fix my computer, and so I wanted to. I did. We just did some testing on TTS, and I was playtesting Bagra Army quite a bit, and because I felt like this deck never really got a fair shake as far as serious play testing, tournament, in tournaments, the tournament format. Maybe the deck is a little as underpowered as some people give it, but I don't think, a lot of people took the time out to test it, test out matchups, test out builds, and kind of figure out, like, kind of what you need to do with the deck to be successful. Because I do think this deck does have a lot of potential. It plays like this death and taxes style of where, it punishes your opponent for doing various things throughout the game. And, you couple that in with your rookies being able to, rookies and pretty much everything in here having this save ability where you can really continue to manipulate memory, draw cards, and really kind of go through your deck, all while kind of controlling what your opponent does and making them pay for doing normal things that they would do throughout their turn. So, I've been very interested in this deck since BT10, but as you know, BT10, we barely it's like we barely got a deck. We got, like, 30% of what this card pool should have been. So yeah, and pretty much everything in here is just Bagra Army support. This is one of the few decks that where you don't really have generic, like, purple cards or anything like that. Like, you really want to stay as in archetype as possible, because anything out of archetype really just doesn't work too well with this deck. So starting out, so the egg we chose is going to be the Tokumon egg. The Tokumon egg just, lets you trash it and draw cards. Just if you need a draw. A lot of times, like, it doesn't come up too often, but the extra draw is kind of nice. Really, you like the memory gain effect from a lot of these inheritables, and you'll see the memory gain effect for clarity. Pretty much every Digimon here that has an opponent's turn effect here is when you trash it, you gain one memory. So you're going to see that pretty much as the inheritable on all of these cards, which is why, again, you really want to keep it kind of like in archetype to a degree. We play 4 copies. So now this deck only has, like, 3 rookies that are in archetype that work with the deck, so you want to max them out and just run your 12 rookies and go from there. This one lets you place a purple Digimon card from your hand under a Tamer. You draw 1 card. And yes, this deck does revolve around you having a Tamer on the board. I know, so I have tested with using, like, a 2-drop mat or 4-drop mat as a memory Tamer, things like that. And the thing is that it just felt really awkward. Like the Tamer just felt very awkward, felt really weird to play. The deck really wants you to use your you use your Amano Tamer, and I just feel like, again, other Tamers really made this deck extremely clunky, and so by taking them out and focusing just on the there's a lot of what you can do with this deck and really what you want. And they all have, and the rookies, and like a lot of the rookies and 4s have the save mechanic, so when it dies, it goes under one of your Tamers, and you'll kind of see that theme throughout. Chumon's your searcher. Chumon's just the top 4 at a Bagra Army traits and a Amano. So this is like one of the better searchers, a card you really want to kind of just play out there to get your search, especially if you don't have your Amano. Really good card you want to see turn 1. Then we get a new card, BT11, which is Chikurimon. And he has an ability where when you play him, you delete him and you reveal top 5 and add a Bagra Army to your hand and put the rest at the bottom of the deck. Now, this ability is not that great. This ability is more of a desperate ability, like, hey, I'm desperate for getting a search off because I need to find a card with Bagra Army, and the top 5 search can dig you deep, but it's kind of meh. You really are playing him, one, because it has Bagra Army, and it's a rookie, and it has save, so that's the big reason. But if you're going to prioritize anything that you're going to be hard playing, it should be your Chuma. So then we're running for the level 4s. We're running 3 Damemon, 4 Troop, 4 Mad Leo, 4 Mad Leo Armon, and 4 Tuar. It's a lot of level 4s, but because we utilize the Digicross mechanic in this deck, you're basically playing them out like as if they're rookies. And you also want to just have these cards in the field because these are your taxing type of cards. Damemon I was playing at a 4 of, and after testing him, I cut him down to 3 because once you have one copy of you on the field, this guy is really just a vanilla and doesn't really do too much for you. Because his ability is just limited to on play when digivolving, you can play a U. So it does help you get you onto the board initially, but like I said, after you comes out, not that great. Then he's just a vanilla with save. You want to run your Tuaromon because Tuaromon, when your opponent plays a Digimon or a Tamer, you trash one to gain a memory. So this helps against like the cross heart. If you're playing against a cross heart or a deck that's going to be hard playing cards, this is a card you want to prioritize putting onto the board so that you can trash one to gain a memory. And remember, when you're trashing cards, so if you Digicross with multiple of these cards underneath him, kind of like a forced Digicross from your Tamer, but we'll get to that later. But if you like Digivolve him up the chain here, you can ditch one so you can gain 2 memory, and then you can gain 1 memory, draw a card. So he's really important in a lot of different matchups. Mad Leomon, my brother hates this. My brother hates her just because of the anime. But what Mad Leomon does is that when they add cards to their hand by, you trash one of his sources, and they have to trash the equal amount. So adding cards means like Demi-Maramon's draw 1, trash 1, any memory boost cards, whatever it is. So Mad Leomon's definitely a card you want to have sit on your board, and like make them kind of like pay for what effects add cards to their hand. So he's a card you want to set on board. And then we have Mad Leomon Armed Mode. Now, I cut Armed Mode down to 3 as well. He has the same ability trigger condition as Mad Leomon when an effect adds cards to your opponent's hand, so you can trash one of your cards to gain X ability. But instead of you forcing your opponent to trash the same amount that they added to their hand, you just draw 2 cards. Now the draw 2 cards is really good, can be, but because this game doesn't have like advantage where you can play cards from your hand on defensively on your opponent's turn or whatnot, and you're kind of just digging to see pieces, I just through testing, like the draw 2 is cool, but then you'll end up with a lot of cards in your hand, and you probably have more cards in your hand than memory allows for plays. So the draw 2 is nice, but like that, the effect to where regular Mad Leomon just limits their hand, that's a little bit more valuable than this one. But you still want to run 3 because it's still a solid card, and both of them have the Digicross 2, so you can Digicross 2 with a this one is a Mad Leomon and 1 Digimon with Bagra Army in his traits. So for Digicross 2, 4, so you can play him for 2. And then Mad Leomon's just a Digicross 2, 1 Digimon with Bagra Army in his traits. So this can just be any Bagra Army card, and you play him out for 3. So it's pretty solid. Then we get another new Digimon, which is Tuaromon. Now, Tuaromon is a pretty needed card. Now, if you are on Damemon, which is, like I say, he's more or less your vanilla deck, but if you're on a Damemon, you can Digivolve for 1 on top of him. But he also has Decoy, Bagra Army. So he just protects your opponent, your Bagra Army cards from being deleted, which is really good because if your opponent's trying to delete like your Mad Leomon or your Tuaromon, so they can do certain things without costing them extra memory, this guy kind of like can shift that and protect him. Plus, he'll have save. All turns your U and mono can be deleted. So him sitting on the board means that if your opponent has a lot of Tamer destruction effects and things like that, you can just sit him on the board and protect your Tamer, which is really important because you're going to be stacking cards under your U and mono, and then your U and mono is going to be allowing you to reduce the play cost of a lot of things. And in this deck, you want to have multiple U and monos on the field because you want to be able to use each of them to continue to reduce your big boss cards down. And then on deletion, you can play a Damemon from your trash suspended without paying its memory cost, and that's also really good too because if he on deletion, so you delete him, he'll give you a card card back to the board, which you can use the next turn to go up into another Tuaromon for 1, or you can use him to just attack with and use the save mechanic, and then get to draw whatever it is. So it's just a really nice card, very pretty versatile in what you want to do for the deck. And again, he also has the win trash, gain a memory. Then you have Musou Nightmon. So Musou Nightmon is the only level 5 we're running. I was trying out Ballmon from like BT10, but it just not good. This one here digivolves on top of a level 5 for a black level 5 for 2, or just a level 4 for 4. So what he does is that he's treated as Dark Nightmon and Tuaromon. On play when digivolving, basically you in this deck, you're just going to be placing a Bagra Army from your hand or trash at the top of his cards, and then if this Digimon has Tuaromon, you get to de-digivolve 3 of your opponent's Digimon. So this guy can be a pretty nasty counter card for like a mass de-digivolution. If your opponent kind of goes wide with a few digivolutions here and there. So it's a decent card. And the Digicross 2 is a Tuaromon and Dark Nightmon. What you can do is that if you have a Musou Nightmon and you have a Tuaromon in hand, so like you have an extra copy of him plus a Tuaromon, you can Digicross with them because he's treated as both Tuaromon and Dark Nightmon. So you can get off the Digicross 2, reduce his cost by 4, put him on the board for 6. So that's something that you can do. And then on deletion, you can return up to 2 black or purple Digimon cards from your trash to your hand. This lets you recycle like maybe your Bagramon, or you really just kind of like an on deletion Calling from the Darkness, basically. But you get your 2 cards. So really, just a really good card in general, needed for the deck. And then I'm playing 2 Lilithmon. Lilithmon is a very interesting card, and again, if you're looking at playing against BT9 style decks where it's like the Bagramon, Grandest, whatnot, things like that, she's a really interesting card for that. So on play, again, and in this deck, yeah, they're big on play cards, but we have Uemano who's going to continue to reduce those costs. You trash 4, and then you then you add 2 Bagra Armies to your hand and place 2 Digimon cards with Bagra Army under one of your Tamers. So really, you trash 4, but you get to recycle 2 cards to your hand, and then also tuck 2 cards under one of your Tamers, which can also proc your Tamer's ability to draw 1 and gain a memory. So she really kind of pays for herself. And then on your opponent's turn, you can trash a card when they move a Digimon out of the breeding area, and then give that Digimon, when attacking, lose 3 memory. So if they raise, then when they attack, lose a memory. And if you trash a card, again, you're trashing a card that gains you a memory, you're going to gain a memory. So effectively, she can cause your opponent to lose a total of 4 memory during that turn. And she's just a really nice card just to get onto the board, a 12k beater that can force your opponent to play a little bit differently than what they normally would play. And then 3 copies of the King, Bagramon. I love this card so much. He's such one of my favorite Digimon. His alt art looks amazing, by the way. So his is an on-play win Digimon, just like Lilithmon. But if your opponent has 1 or fewer Digimon, you look at their hand and you trash a card among it. So he gives you a lot of information about what your opponent has, and then since you get to choose what you can get rid of a threat. You can get rid of like a chaos degrade, because they can just chaos degrade him away. You can get rid of like a Cosidas breath. Get rid of a Beelstar if that's like the only one in their hand, and they know they can just play it out. So really strong. Just having that information about what's in their hand and choosing what they can and cannot do is really good. And then if they have 2 cards, you basically put one of those cards under the other one as their Digivolution source, as a Digivolution card. So like if they have like a Rookie and a Mega out, you put the Mega under the Rookie. Basically, you just put the mega under the rookie as his bottom Digivolution card, and I think all the other sources just go away, because you just took one card. But that activates his All-Turn ability, where when an opponent's Digimon digivolves, or when an effect add cards to an opponent's Digivolution cards via him as unplayability, you can trash a card you can trash one of his sources and burn the top card of their stack. So just from his on play or on digivolving ability, you can reduce their field into something that's suboptimal and then burn something, and then if they want to climb up and digivolve and things like that again, then you can trash another card from the source and burn their stack again and again. When you're trashing these cards, your level 4s and your rookies all will gain you a memory back. So it's really taxing your opponent and benefiting you. Think of yourself as the United States government. So that's Bagramon. And then you have Buzzing Fist, where you just reveal the top. We know what Buzzing Fist does. This is kind of like a search card. You just look at the top 3, add a Bagra Army, trash the rest, then place one underneath your Uamano. This just kind of helps accelerate your deck. But really, I'm playing 4 just because I like his security effect, and I want more chances for it to be in security, where you can play Uamano from your hand or trash without paying the cost. And because if your opponent destroys the Uamano or somehow it ends up in the trash, then you get to bring it back out to the field. And again, in this deck, you want to have as many Uamanos on the field as possible, because you want to be able to continue to reduce those Digivolution costs, and you can do that per Amano. We're playing 3 copies of Astral Snatcher. I was playing 2, but I wanted to play 3 because I wanted to see it a little bit more often. Really, really strong card to me. You can place up to 3 Digimon with Bagra Army in the traits from your trash at the bottom of one of your Digimon Digivolution cards, or your Tamers. So this can set up a Uamano for the next turn, and Uamano will gain you a memory, draw you a card back. So you're playing this for 6. But it's okay, my Bagramon has no more sources left under him. Well, I can use Astral Snatcher, put 3 cards from the trash back under the Bagramon or back under the Lilithmon, whatever the case may be. So now I have I have sources to use, for my taxing abilities. And if you have a Digimon Tamer with Bagra Army as traits, you can place one of your opponent's Digimon under one of as the bottom card. So it's literally Bagramon's effect, his on play when digivolving effect. And then once you do that, if you have Bagramon out, you can proc the ability and burn another security. So really, really good. Definitely, like I said, feels pretty governmental. And then you have the key Tamer, Uamano. This you want to get to him as early and often possible, and keep him on the board in multiples, because if you place a purple card on him, you draw a card and gain a memory, and that's what you're going to be doing both turns, since it's an alternate effect. And when you play a level 4 or higher Digimon, you can place up to 3 of those cards. So if you have multiple copies of Uamano, you can play 3 from one Uamano, 3 from another Uamano, and that's basically reducing the cost by 12. So if you have 3 under one, 3 on the other one, you want to hard play Bagramon. Well, I just hard played Bagramon for 2, and he has 6 sources underneath of him. It's really, he's just a really strong, and he's like the key Tamer for the deck. But that's the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit of a long one, but I wanted to make sure that we kind of understood what you want to do with this deck, and kind of what you want to look out for in your matchups. It's definitely something where this deck, you want to have information on your opponent. This deck can help get you that information, but you want to have information about your opponent's deck, and then utilize your cards correctly. Which cards would you rather have as your source? Which cards you would rather have on the field because of what their deck's ability does. All right, Card Fight King, and I'm out.